All right, Lori, go ahead and let me know when you started the recording.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, thank you everyone for your participation in today's webinar, which is an intermediate level Outlook training for chapter administrators and officers. This is DJ Johnson, the Director of Chapter Program Development at ASID. We really appreciate your participation in this program today and are really excited to be unveiling a program that we think is going to help you and your chapters as well as ASID immensely. Now, the focus of this webinar is to focus on the capabilities of the Outlook web app system. Before we get into the technical, I do want to share some strategic reasons why ASID is moving chapters over to this platform, things that will benefit chapter administrators and officers as well as chapter members in general. So for administrators and officers, there are features in Outlook that will make it more likely that sent or received messages from ASID aren't blocked by spam filters. Also, national staff will be able to provide better tech support if there is changeover in the accounts or difficulty accessing. And strategically, having a regular email address that is used by chapter officers for ASID business will allow for greater continuity and transition from year to year, allowing the administrators and officers from one year the ability to view conversations from previous years about important chapter projects. I think especially for those of you who are in the officer positions or new to the administrator position, imagine what it would be like if when you started you were able to access the emails of your predecessor. And some chapters are actually already doing this. And finally, it will allow us to create directories in Outlook so that chapter administrators and officers can access the email addresses of leadership in other chapters and at the national office without having to search through the website, database, or PDF directories. Now, for members, we also want to create a more improved and standardized experience. Many members change chapters across the course of their career. By standardizing the naming conventions of each chapter's email addresses, it'll be easier for members to reach out and contact chapters when moving to a new chapter. Also, contact information on chapter websites would not need to be updated from year to year. Chapter members would always have standard email addresses to reach the president, president-elect, communications officer, the administrator, and other leadership positions, instead of needing to update their address books each time a position changes over. And finally, on a more broad level, I do want to emphasize there is no extra charge to chapters for this. The cost of the platform is currently covered under the same contract that National has to consolidate the websites. And also, as you learn more, you'll learn more during this session that this version of Outlook is the Outlook web app. It is web-based and accessible from any computer or mobile device. Now, as the emails are set up, we have the capabilities to have any emails that were sent to old chapter email addresses be automatically redirected to the new addresses. Now, on a previous session, we had a lot of questions about kind of operations and procedure. I do really want to emphasize that this is more of the technical side. If you do have questions about the strategy and implementation of this process, please feel free to reach out to me directly. You can email me at D as in David and then Johnson, Johnsson, at asid.org. And we do currently have all of these email addresses are actually set up and they're ready to go. And we will be communicating the passwords and the actual addresses within the next several weeks. Our hope is that chapters will start using them as soon as possible. And you'll probably see that there are some benefits that could start helping your chapter from using them immediately. But we do understand that different chapters have different projects and communications and things going on, and some may need to delay transition over to the new email system. The hope is that all chapters that are on the DSA website system would be using the new email system by the time we get to the Chapter Leadership Conference in July. And definitely by the time that the 2015-2016 volunteer boards have actually taken office. But there'll be more information communicated that along with regular information about the website transition process as it comes available. On the call today, we also have Russ Planima, who is at the national office in our IT department. And today's program will actually be run by Laureen Baker with one of our vendor partners, Design Data, who will be going into the technical aspects of the program. And so with that, I will turn it over to Lori.
Well, thank you, DJ, and welcome, everyone. So like he mentioned, we are going to be reviewing most of the features of the system, but for the sake of time, I may not go into greater detail on each one, but you're always welcome to type your questions in the chat box. This session is being recorded as well as the chat box itself. If it's pertaining to the application, we'll go ahead and explain what the question is, and we'll try to answer it as best as we can if it pertains to the app. If it does pertain operationally, DJ and Russ are both monitoring the chat box as well, and they can get back with you independently. So send any suggestions for future trainings and things like that to DJ as well, and then they'll go ahead and make sure that we can get you that information. So to start the training, what you can see right now on your screen is the login screen, and you will be given your username and the password. So I'm going to go ahead and type in the password, and then we'll log in. This is a web-based, so you can see that I'm in a browser, and it works with most all browsers and multiple devices. You can see that the remember password, which a lot of browsers have, we recommend that you don't use this, because if you do log into a public computer or maybe a friend's or another coworker's, you don't want them to remember your password, so you can just close that. I have a lot of test emails that you're going to see in this particular account so that I can use these for the training session. We're going to first start by talking about the environment. Up at the top here, you can see it says Outlook Web App. This is definitely different than the actual Outlook application. So if you have seen that, you're going to see a significant difference. If you haven't, then that's okay. This is the first time for you. This navigation bar is called a navigation bar specifically because it allows you to navigate between the different views within the application. So you're going to have Mail, which we're currently in. And you can tell by that little divot right there underneath the word Mail. And then you have Calendar, People, which is also known as Contacts, and Tasks, which you can create for yourself, or reminders. And we'll go through that. Over at the top is the name of your email account, and if you notice this little drop down, this is how you would sign out. So you definitely don't want to save the password, and you don't want to leave it open. Just like by closing the browser, that still leaves the connection open. So you want to definitely sign out. Next to that is this little wheel, and you can see by me putting my mouse pointer on it, it says Settings. These settings change the entire application, not our current view. So not just Mail. You can go into Options, which will cover options in Calendar, options in Mail, how to set your signature, and we'll go over some of these. But this is the generic way of how do I do something. Pretty much you're going to go into Settings and then into Options. And you can see that some of these things are listed independently where you don't have to go into another menu like automatic replies. Over at the far right is the help, and I definitely recommend if you have any questions or you want to learn more about this application, click on help. It will answer almost any question you have. It does use the online version, so you can ask it a question in the search box, send, and it will respond back with the website, giving you the information that you were seeking. So that's the navigation bar. Over in the left-hand side where it says New Mail, that is the link where you would start a new mail message. Below this is the navigation pane. Favorites are exactly what it means, like shortcuts, so they're favorites. And you can set different types of favorites from folders that you would create. You would create folders underneath your email account, which is listed here. The default folders are the inbox, drafts, sent items, deleted items, junk mail, and notes. These cannot be deleted or renamed. Anything that you create, you can rename them, you can delete them, and you can set them up as favorites. So for example, if I wanted to create a folder that is a top-level folder, I would select first the email account name. Then I would right-click on it, and it gives me the option to create a folder. So I'll go ahead and type in top-level folder so that you know what the difference between that is. And so now it's in line with all of the other default folders. If I wanted to have a folder inside another folder, like a subfolder, I would first select the folder, whether it be the inbox or my top-level folder. And again, right-click and create the new folder. Pretty easy. Now, once you've created a folder, you again have that right-click menu. But you can see now some additional options are given to me where they weren't given to me on the default ones, like the rename or the delete, because these are system-generated where the subfolder and the top-level folder is user-generated. So you can rename them, delete them, and here's the Add to Favorites, which will throw it right up at the top. Eventually, this list may get very, very long, so it's a nice little treat to have the ability to send the subfolder up to the favorites so that you can quickly access it. Next to the navigation pane is the actual inbox as well as the search feature. So you can see up here this instant search. It is mail and people. So if I type in here a criterion word, let's say training, it is going to search both mail and people. So you can see it brought up an email address that had the word training in it. I'm not going to use this for a people search. I want to use this for my mail search. So after I type the word training, I must hit enter. Once I hit enter, it'll actually perform the search, and it will highlight both inside the emails and through the subjects. So then you can scroll through and see, try to find the email that you're looking for. In addition to that, over in the navigation pane, this little area over here opens up that says right now I am only searching in my inbox. I can tell it to include the entire mailbox, which would be all my sent, all my subfolders and folders, all my drafts, and anything other folders that I would have junk mail. It would search the entire mailbox, not just the inbox. Here it would be current folder and subfolders. So if I was searching a folder and had a subfolder, I want to just search those two. And then you can see here that it gives you the ability to sort and filter by time. This will remain in the search function until I close that, and that's what that little X is right there. I go ahead and click on the X. It removes the instant search criteria and puts me right back into the inbox, listing my emails. The way that the emails are currently being listed is presented right here by the conversation by date. Instead of the email just showing up to you in one solid individual list by date, it is actually grouping them by conversation first and then by date. So I think the easiest way to see that is to actually show you what a conversation is. You can see there's a little widget next to this particular email where there's no widget next to this. This indicates that this is a conversation, which means I have sent this email out and somebody has replied or forwarded it back to me and or someone else. So that connects the reply to the original email. And as long as the reply and forward chain continues, I will get a list of all of the different emails that are connected to this original one. If they change the subject, it will still keep that connection because it's connected to the reply function, not the subject function. If you create a new message, it breaks this conversation chain and it starts a brand new conversation. So that is what a conversation is. It's to group your emails by a particular topic or a particular email conversation. And then it's listed by date. So here I'm going to close or collapse that conversation, and you can see here it says last week, here it says 2 weeks ago, and these ones here would be more current. You can change this by selecting the drop-down arrow, and it gives you all of these different options. You can sort, change the order, and turn your conversations on and off. This is controlled by you. It is a user preference. In addition to whatever type of sort or filter that you have going on, you can then do one more step of filtering. Right now it's displaying all of the emails. If I click unread, I'm only going to see those emails that are unread. And if you notice, we have that nice big blue bar right here that indicates visually it is an unread email. Also, the selected email is highlighted. So when I do if I do any actions, it will be affecting this particular selected email. Here's the option of to me only. So if I was CC'd, it would not be a to me. It would be a CC to me, which would not be listed here. So a to me means that I have to be in the to box, not the CC or the BCC. The last one is flagged. Okay, so you can flag important emails, and you can set reminders. And as long as it's flagged, which is right here, it can be sorted and filtered out so that you can only focus on the ones that you have flagged to do something with. Okay, so as I was saying, this is the selected email. When the email is selected, it marks it as unread, which means that little bar will go away, as well as in the reading pane, which is over here, it displays the contents. Currently, what's being displayed is a meeting, so we'll come back to that. Let's go ahead and click on a new message, and this one's got attachments. You can see I can see the images and I can see the icon for the attachment. If I come down to this particular one, it has no attachments on it, and I can just read the message. If I wanted to delete the message, that's what the red X is. And if I wanted to flag the message, I would right-click on that flag. It gives me the options of reminding me today, tomorrow, this week, next week. There's no date, or it's a task, and I want to mark it as complete. If I mark it as complete, it will change it to a check mark. So if I set a reminder, obviously I need to do something with it. And then once I've done something with it, I can mark it as complete. A little bit of a way to track what's going on. Some of the icons that you see here, you can see that when I point to this one, you've got that little paperclip. That's a universal attachment. And for meetings, you can see it looks like a little calendar sheet of paper on your desktop type calendars. This one here is a failed message. Delivery has failed. If I type in a wrong receipt, this is the type of icon that I'm going to get, that it was a bad email and I need to research it. So the other ones are these little arrows here. If you take a look in your reading pane up at the top right-hand corner, you can see that there's a reply all, and a forward. Not only do they have the text, they also have the icons. So these icons show up within the messages showing what actions I've done. So I have actually replied to this particular message, and it stamps it with the reply icon. If I forward it, it would go the other way, and it means that I have forwarded someone. This will also show up, that reply and forward, in my conversation list. So you can see that it opens up all of the different functions and actions that I've done with each one of these emails. In addition to these little replies, reply all, and forward, you do have what's called a more actions. So if you click on that more actions, you can see that there are additional actions that you can do, but only to the selected email. So you make sure that you select the email first before you click on the more actions. If you wanted to categorize it, mark it as junk, open it in a separate window, which means it will actually open in a separate window. So you could, if you have two monitors like I do, it was actually opened on my other monitor, and then I can bring it forward here and maybe work on a different application while I have my email message open. So it gives you that ability. Notice that the email itself did not change from this inline view, so you don't lose the view itself. So that is pretty much the navigation bar, the navigation pane, your inbox, and the reading pane. We've covered help, and we've covered how to create folders. So the next step that we're going to go to is how do I create a new message, and that was the link up at the top. When you create a new message by clicking on that link, it used to be that the window would pop open a new window with a new message in it. And if you notice here, your reading pane just switches. It just ever gently just glides over, and now it's no longer displaying the contents of my selected email. It's now ready for me to send a message. And I can address it, CC it, enter in the subject, and it gives me a format toolbar that I will be able to format the contents of my message. Up at the top, you do have to send. That's where you would click to send it. But if you said, you know, I don't need to do this anymore, I'm going to discard it. So no more of the little red X's in the window. You hit discard, and it will actually just switch it back to the reading pane. So we'll go back into the new message. We also have the ability to insert. So we can insert an attachment, which is an actual document, versus a picture, which has the extensions of GIF and JPEG and things like that. So I'll go ahead and click an attachment. It opens up that I can upload a particular file. Let's go ahead and just choose a document. And once I've attached the document, you can see that it's attached underneath the subject. It also gives me the ability to preview. So if I'm not quite sure that that is the correct document, without having to go in and opening the document, I can actually preview the contents of the document and go, yep, that's the right one. If it's not, then I can click this little X and it will remove that attachment. I can also attach a picture. By attaching a picture, it doesn't attach it like it does the document. It actually attaches it, take this one, and you can see that it's a JPEG, inside the message itself. And it gives you, if you click on it, you get these little sizing handles because sometimes they're really, really big. And so now you can just click and drag to change the size of it. And you can type in, I don't know. And then you would be able to select your text and format it using the toolbar above, just like you would with a Word document. So now that I've got my message composed, I might not be ready to send it. Maybe I don't have the email addresses. That's when I can go ahead and just close it because it automatically saves it as a draft. So if I go ahead and just click on, I can do two ways. I can close it, or I can click on this little dot, 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 which means more commands, and I can save. And by saving it, it gives it the word draft, and it's been saved to my draft folder. So now I can move on to another email message and work that message. And then once I get the email address, I can come back into my draft, open this up, I continue editing on it, and now I can address it. Once I start addressing it, you can see that it's trying to guess who I'm trying to send it to. So if I have already sent an email to somebody, it stores it in my contacts, but not as a contact. It's stored as a temporary contact. So if I attempt to type their address again, it will actually show up in this drop-down menu. I can choose from the list, or it gives me the ability to actually go in to the contacts and or directory and select someone that way. I can go ahead and choose this one. You could do the same thing with the CC, but what happens if you wanted to do the BCC? Again, dot, dot, dot equals more options, and there's the show BCC, and then you can include someone else. Put in your subject, and then I'm going to hit send. So it's pretty easy. The draft is still here. You can see that this is a different draft. It looks like the same, but it's actually different. This one says test email. So now I'm going to go ahead and click on my inbox, and then it displays all of my emails. This is actually sent to a real email, so once I receive that email, I'm going to hit reply, and it will then come back in. So that is the new message, attaching a document, attaching a picture, and how to format. What happens if I need to spell check? Okay, there isn't really an option. We haven't seen it yet. So inside our new message, I do this all of the time. I'm thinking faster than my little fingers can type, and I misspell the word the. You can see that the little red wiggly line, it's relying on your browser's spell check function. So it's automatically going to give you the little wiggly line. Just point to it with your I-beam, right-click, and it will then give you options on some of the words that you are attempting to spell. Click on the correct one, and then you can continue on. So it's not an automatic spell check like Word, but it does give you the red squiggly line like Word does. I do not believe that it does grammar, though. So that is how we also save our document or our new email as a draft. That's going into the More Options and Save, and also sending it. Okay, so if you needed to do some options, let's say deliver receipts, check out the message options here, setting importance to high, normal, or low. So I invite you to check out this menu when you get an opportunity to play with the application. So now that we have done that, I'm going to go ahead and discard. And you get these little pop-up messages, making sure that that's really what you want to do before it does it. I'm going to go ahead and hit reply to the message that I got before, and then hit send as soon as I can get these little boxes out of my way. And so we're going to be receiving a message. Once I receive the message, you're going to see the kind of information that's going to be popping up here in your navigation bar. I wanted to point those out. There's one in here right now that's got a little calendar on it. And you've probably seen it as I was speaking. That was saying that I had a meeting scheduled, and it alerted me that this is a meeting. I have a reminder notification. When I receive new mail, I'm also going to get a reminder notification and a little icon that looks like a closed envelope. So that will show up hopefully here soon. While we're waiting for that, let's go ahead and take a look at reviewing a document that has an attachment to it. I think one of these did, this one. And the attachment shows up as an icon. So you can do a couple different things with it. When I put my mouse over it, you can see it tells me the name of the document, as well as giving me the ability to preview it. And sometimes this might be a safe option for you, especially if you do not know who it's coming from. One of those safety, cybersecurity things, don't click on a link unless you know who it comes from. There's our little icon. So we just got the new message, and the little icon shows up, and here's our new message. So this is a preview of the attachment. To open it or to save it, I can click on this link, or I can right-click, and I can open it in a new tab in a new window. By clicking on the link itself, just a left click instead of a right click, a left click will give me the ability to open it in the appropriate application or save the file to a location of my choice. Notice that the image is not an attachment. So if I wanted to save the image, I would right-click on it, and then I could save the image as, and then it would allow me to save it wherever I choose to save this particular image. And you can see it saves it as a JPEG. So even though it's not as an attachment, you can still save images by using the right click. So that's how you would receive it. Working this preview pane, here you have the reply all, and the forward is still there even on received messages. Okay. Alrighty, so how do I delete this message? You can delete it by using the red X, or you can right-click on a received message, make sure it's highlighted in blue first for the selection, and it gives you the shortcut menu of options of deleting, marking it as red, which is unread right now because of this little blue bar, flagging it, and moving it. So I can actually move a message from my inbox to another folder, and I can do that two ways. I can click on More, and it gives me a list of folders, and now it moves it to the subfolder. Or I can just click and drag. So those are ways that you can move your emails and organize them. Okay, we've done the search. One of the other areas that we need to, it's related to email, but not necessarily in the creation or the receiving, and that is if you were going out of the office and maybe you aren't having someone watch your email. So how do I set my out-of-office replies? And that was over here. I mentioned it early in the beginning underneath the settings. When you click on the settings menu, it automatically lists the second option as to set automatic replies. You can also get to it through options, but this is much easier. So when we get into the automatic replies, it's set to do not send. That way you are receiving your messages and you can send messages without any interruption. So the first thing you need to determine is that you do want to send them. The second thing that you need to determine is, do I just want to send them for an unspecified time period, which means it's going to be on until I turn it off. And then you can just go ahead and create your inside my organization message and or outside my organization. You may have a different message depending upon who is emailing you. If you wanted it for a specific period of time, you need to make sure that you check the send replies only during this time period. And it's not only a date, but it's also a time. So you want it usually first hour of the business day and usually the last hour of the business day of the day that you, before that you were coming back. Your messages can be, I am out of the office, and you have the ability to format, add things as a hyperlink, and it doesn't appear to have a link for images, but I don't think you would really want one of those in an out of office. So this would be, the first one is for my organization. Within my organization, please contact so-and-so for any assistance during my absence. Outside, which is all external senders, you would say, please contact so-and-so, or I will have limited, and it may be a completely different person, which would be the reason why we have an inside and an outside. If you don't have differences, then you can copy and paste to the exact message to both of them. You make sure that to check send automatic replies to senders outside my organization, and then you can say external users or just users in my contact. Once you have all these options set, you want to hit save. If you don't hit save and just move on to another area, it will not set your automatic replies. So that's very, very important. I'm not going to save it, so if you're going to see what happens, when I click the return to the web app without saving, it's going to give me this warning, and I'm going to say don't save it. So that's how you can set it up, and you can go on vacation and enjoy yourself and not really worry about what's happening with your email. In addition to setting replies, you may want to have a signature. So when you send a new message, you have some sort of information on who you are for the receiver receiving it. Before we can add a signature block to a blank message, we have to create the signature. So we're going to go ahead and create the signature using the settings menu, and you're going to come down to options. Once you're in options, you click settings. It has mail up at the top, and its first thing listed is an email signature. There is the ability to add an image to this, which was the #1 question in this area during the last session. But because I'm using the web app, there is a different way of doing it, and I think Russ and DJ, you guys are coming up with some instructions for that?
Yes, I'll have instructions shortly for that, and I'll make sure that I get that out to everyone.
Great. So here you can see I'm going to put my name, I'm going to put my title, and I can also put a link if I wanted to do this one, yeah, right there it is, a hyperlink to maybe my web page or maybe a conference that I'm attending or something big and I want people to know about it. So this, and notice here I also hit enter a few times. That's the key point that a lot of people miss. And then what happens is when you insert it in your document, there's no space for your message. So make sure that you put enter. Again, putting in this, I have to choose automatically include my signature on messages I send, which means I don't have to do anything. It's going to show up every single time. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. If I don't do this, I can manually insert it. So I'll show you that as well. Again, save. And once it's saved, it doesn't change, so this is a little deceptive. Then you can choose the return back. And when I create a new email, you can see there's my signature right there. Here's my little pop-up telling me that I had webinar training. That's for the calendar part. So I'm just going to leave it right here for right now. I'm going to go back into the options. I'm going to leave the page because I don't want to save that. Into settings, and I'm actually going to uncheck this so that I can show you that if you don't check this, or if you forget to check it, but you know that you've made your email signature, you can always manually enter it into your new messages by clicking on this little ... or the, and on the insert signature, and then it will insert it. It doesn't have the ability to have multiple signatures like the full-blown application does. So if you have multiple signatures, you may have to change it or just type it in. So those are how you do signatures, automatically or manually. I'm going to go ahead and discard this. In dealing with email messages, sometimes you'll get messages from people that you don't want. Somehow they get your name and now you're on a mailing list and it's like, oh, I just wish this would stop. In addition to you being able to monitor it within your web Outlook web app, there's also usually a third-party spam filter, but sometimes they don't always catch everything. So it's really good that you know this information, and that is how to send an email to a junk folder and how to put that user, that sender, on a block list. And you can do this, I'm going to go ahead and do it to myself, by right-clicking on a specific message that is the offending message, and you can see at the bottom, as soon as I select it, it should have send to junk. There we go. I have to, that one was not read, so that was a very key point. I always forget. See, it's not read, so I can't send it to junk unless I read it. Once I have it marked as read, and when I right-click on it, it now marks it as junk. So by marking it as junk, I'm going to throw it in to my junk folder. This little pop-up wants Microsoft to send you information. You can say don't report, and you can also say don't show me this message again. So now it automatically took my message. You can see by the message count that it threw it into my junk email. Okay. Now, how do I know I'm not going to receive messages from the same sender again? If we go back up to our settings, and go into our options, inside our list here we have a block or allow. This is where the emails will be listed. This is block senders. So every time you right-click and send someone to the junk mail folder, their email will automatically be blocked for any future. So as soon as it hits your inbox, you don't even see it. It goes directly to junk. If you want to make sure that somebody always goes into your inbox, that there's no potential for it going into that junk, you can add them to the safe list. So you just type in, and you can just type in to add people here. If you find someone showed up on your blocked senders list by mistake, just by selecting them and hitting the little negative sign, that will remove them. Make sure you hit save, and then you can go back. And from that point forward, you will always get their emails. But one of the things you might be aware of is it does not remove them from the junk mail. If you do periodically check your junk mail and you realize, oh, this person should not be in the junk, you can also right-click on them and mark them not as junk. And when you mark them not as junk, it removes that email from the block list as well as moving the email back into your inbox. So this way is much better. Going into the options, if you have a whole list of emails that you want to put in, that might be feasible. But if you're doing it by message as you receive them, right-clicking on them after they're read and selecting whether they are or are not junk is probably the best way. Here I'm going to say, no, don't report it, and now it's out of my junk box and back into my inbox. So that is it for mail. We're going to move on to our people, or contacts is what it was known. Up at the navigation bar, we can click on people, and it changes our view. Over at the top here, you can see it sort of cuts off a little bit. That's just my view, but over here is new. That's how you would make a new contact. So very quickly, we'll take a look at it. You can also create a group, and I invite you to research that a little bit, use the help function. But in order for you to create a group, you have to have contacts. So first, we're going to take a look at a contact. Pretty simple. Fill in their name, their email address, and if they have multiple email addresses, you can continue to add them. Their phone and multiple phones work, and you just keep clicking on these little pluses and then choosing which options you would like to add. So once you have the person selected, make sure you hit save. If you are starting it and realize, oh, I don't want to add them, you can discard them, and they're no longer in your contacts. This is a very important part to remember. Your contacts versus the directory. Your contacts, or the contacts area, are people that you enter in. You can't enter anyone into the directory. DJ, Russ, do you want to mention anything about the directory?
Yeah, I'll mention a couple of things.
Okay.
This is Russ, by the way.
Okay.
The first couple items in the directory are probably the most important. There's one at the very top called chapters rooms. You don't really need to pay attention to that. That is actually just something that had to be in there for the system to work properly. But the following ones are I think will be very helpful for everyone. If you click on ASID National Employees, you'll actually see a list of everyone here at National. We've been trying to make sure we have our images in there so you guys know who we are. You see a face with a name. It also has all of our contact information as well as our departments. So it's easy for you guys to hopefully get a hold of us if you need to. There's also ASID National Shared Mailboxes. Lori, if you want to click on that. What that'll show you is all the different email addresses that National has that are not, I guess, personal email boxes. So you can see here there's we have an accounts payable, communications. A lot of these are distributed out, so members or potential members or anyone can send us emails. And a lot of times these mailboxes are monitored by more than one person here at ASID. The next one is chapter distribution groups. So what you can actually do here is if you need to send an email to all of the chapter financial directors, you can actually click on that, and then there's an icon with the email icon, yeah, that one, and it'll actually send an email out to all the financial directors. This may come in handy for some people. And you'll also notice that there's a name after each of the titles, and what we're trying to do here is whenever a position is changed, we're going to try to update that so you'll always see whoever is currently in that position. And then the rest underneath the directory are just each chapter. So if you just want to see all of the people that are involved with the Alabama chapter, you'll see all of them there. A nice, quick, and easy way to be able to reference all the different chapters in National. And yeah, I guess that's all I wanted to mention.
Okay, great, thanks. So the biggest difference is you can't add anything to this directory. This is controlled by Russ and DJ and all of the people in the ASID area who manage or administrate the web app. So they create these, and if any changes need to be done to these, you should contact one of them. You are in control of contacts, so you can add people to it by clicking on the new or actually by doing it by their email, and we'll show you that in a sec. So here you can see I've added someone from one of these lists. Let's go ahead and go up here. I'm going to take Russell. I'm going to click on him. And you can see not only can I email him, I can schedule a meeting. Here's his contact, any notes regarding him, any organizations that he's related with or is contacted. Here's all of the information. But here's where I can say, I don't want to have to constantly go through the directory and find this particular person. I want them in my contacts. So I can click on the Add Contacts, and it actually opens up his contact page so that I can change it and then save it. Now this particular person is in my contacts. Okay, so there's Russ. This person, I don't remember where I grabbed him from, and then this is me. So you can see that it is doing this by company. So I can sort by company, first name, home, city, whichever way that I choose to filter and sort. You can see that this is people. And then if I had groups, which I don't, I can also filter by groups. Like I mentioned earlier, when you go in and you research and you want to create groups within your own contacts, you have to have contacts first in order to group those contacts together. So that's why we wanted to explain contacts. So pretty easy, contacts, adding them, hitting the new, and then filling out the form, and it becomes contacts in your contacts, not the directory. When you now start typing in their email address when you're making a new message, it will now show up in that drop-down list as long as they're in your contacts. Once you have somebody listed in here, you can edit them. There's an Edit Contact, which opens up the form. And you also have the ... meaning more actions, that you can delete them. So you can manage this, you can't manage this. That's contacts. To add a contact from mail, we need to go back into mail. And I'm going to go ahead and choose DJ. And once I clicked on DJ, you can see up at the top it shows me who he is. And up over here is some action items. I can right-click, look at his details. And when I look at his details, it gives me the options to add him to my contacts. So once I have his contact page open, I can make changes and then save them. When I go back into my people, he's going to be now listed in my contacts. So you can do it either way. When you receive an email, or you can take him from the directory into your contacts, but you can't change or modify the directory itself. That needs to be updated. You can contact one of them. The last area that we're going to take a look at is the calendar. And we're going to click on the navigation bar to change the view to the calendar view. So right now the view is a month. And over in the top left-hand side, you've got day versus a work week, which is no weekend. A week indicates there are weekends in it, and then the month. You have the ability to share, but you can go ahead and take a look and help. It's very easy. You just send, when you click on share, you send a copy of your calendar to the person to whom you'd like to share it with. And so that's the share option. You can print them. Notice over here underneath those areas is a list of appointments that I have for that day. Because I have this particular day selected, it lists the appointments that I have going on. If I click on the 8th, it lists the 8th, the 9th. So these are activities or events is what they call them here that I have created. You can click on the new event, or you can double click the particular date and it will open up the event page. The difference between an event and an appointment and a meeting, it's pretty easy. They have the word event, but they mean all three. So if I was going to create an appointment, let's say a doctor's appointment, I would type that in, put in a location if I choose to. Don't put any attendees because this relies on me. but I would put in a duration. So the difference between an event and an appointment, an event is all day, an appointment has a specific period of time. And then I would schedule the date and the time, show whether I'm busy, free, whether someone can contact me or don't contact me, and whether it repeats, reoccurring. If I wanted it to reoccur, it's a doctor's appointment every Wednesday for the next 6 weeks, then I would choose reoccurrence from and to. This is your begin and your end. If it doesn't end, it's never ending, then you would put none. You could mark it as private, so those that share your calendar or can see your calendar would not see the contents or the details of this particular appointment because it is a doctor's appointment. So that's how you can make it reoccurring. And then marking it as private, put in any information, and save. So once I save, it will then show up, and you can see the reoccurring will be every Wednesday at the same time. So if I wanted a meeting, new event, even though the word is meeting, the difference is I would add an attendee. And again, a duration, because you can't have an event. An event is all day. An appointment and a meeting has a duration. So I would make this an hour. And notice the reminder. If I want to be reminded how many minutes before my meeting, that's what this is right here. That's the reminder. So by default, it's 15 minutes. I usually have meetings where I don't want to be interrupted. That's why it's listed as busy. If I'm out of the office at a meeting, I'm going to mark it as away. This is not going to repeat. I'm not going to mark it. I do want to request responses. So that means when I send this, it's going to email anybody who's in my attendees list, and I am requesting that they respond back. So I'm going to go ahead and hit send. And on my original email, it will then ask me. If we go into my mail, because I've received a meeting request, remember this icon here? That icon indicates it's a meeting. This is where I have to choose accept, tentative, or decline. Those are my options. If I accept it, then I can edit a response before sending by saying, hey, would you like me to bring donuts? Or send the response now, which is an automatic I'm attending, or don't send the response at all, which doesn't tell the person whether you're going to be there or not. So those are some of the options. I send the response, it's been sent, and now this has been in my calendar. This is for the 12th, so there's my meeting, 30 minutes. If I choose to, I can also accept it here. It tells you that I've already accepted it. But if it's a meeting, I can click on it and I can accept it, decline it, or make it tentative. I can change my mind at any time. It doesn't mean that once I've accepted it, I can't say, oh, I need to make it tentative. Send the edit response. If I send an edit response, it opens up a new message for me to send back, and then I can hit send. And now it is no longer accepted, it's now tentative. You can see up here this little indication means that it's tentative. If it's accepted, it will be dark. So those are some of the icons on accepting and not accepting some meetings. You don't accept or decline appointments. Appointments are personal. They're for you to remind you to do something. And an event is usually I'm going to be out for a particular period of time, like a vacation. Once you have an item or event scheduled, you can see by selecting it, I get this little box. I can also edit it and delete it. So if I want to edit a meeting, it will resend my new meeting information to everybody if I change the date, the time, any of that. So I can delete it. Here I'm going to go ahead and delete the event, and it will no longer be on there. This meeting, you can see the meetings you don't delete. Events and appointments you can delete because there's no people to send it to. For a meeting, if I hit cancel, it's going to send an email out to everybody and remove it from their calendars. that it's no longer a meeting. Or I can edit it, and then it will send an update. So that is it to covering the web now. I didn't see any questions typed in. Russ, DJ, would you have any information you want to add?
Yeah, I'll add one thing. Again, this is Russ. One of the questions that we had gotten in one of the other training sessions was about receiving your email on a smartphone. Yes, we can receive email on a smartphone, and that's actually only there's actually even more to it. We can do an entire sync of your email, your calendar, and the contacts, so you'll be able to see all of them on your smartphone. And I'm also in the process of putting together a short little instruction on how to do that. It's pretty easy, but I'll be getting that out to everyone as well. I guess DJ will probably be making sure that gets out to everyone, but we'll have that soon.
Okay. DJ, do you have anything you want to add?
I guess.
Yeah, just everyone who participated in this program today is going to receive an evaluation. Please, if there are additional areas of focus related to the email or other, chapter support, please feel free to put in that information. We will have, future trainings on, kind of communication strategy and some other things that go more into the operations and strategic side as opposed to just the technical side. But our hope is that by getting, consolidating the chapter websites and then also getting everyone on kind of the same email platform where we're using the same naming conventions and where we're all in the same directory, that's going to help connect us easier, and that it's also going to help our members be able to connect with us and find us easier. But if there are ever, any additional suggestions or things that you want us to think about in the future, always feel free to email me, directly at my email address, or you can still send emails to chapters, that's chapter with an S, chapters at ASID.org.
Okay, does any of the attendees have any questions that you would like to ask? You can go ahead and type them in the chat box while you have DJ, Russ, and myself here. Maybe we can answer any questions that you have. Okay. Well, I don't see anything yet. That is all for me. Is there anything else you want me to cover, Russ, DJ?
No, that's about it. If you have any questions, I'm sure DJ or I can get you answers for them, and that's about it.
Well, then thank you for having me, and thank you all for attending. This recording should be coming to you very shortly.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.